Hey, what's up, guys? It's me, John the House Guy, here with my lovely co-host,
Kim the Homegirl.
and this is the House Guy and Homegirl podcast, where we try each week to bring you relevant information about real estate and home building. And this week, we're going to talk about how to improve your curb appeal for your home.
You're listening to the House Guy and Homegirl podcast, a podcast about real estate and real life. As realtors, home builders, and real estate investors, John and Kim keep it real. Former teachers turned real estate professionals, they have a heart for helping others. Join them each week as they discuss all things home. And now, here's your hosts, John and Kim.
So this week, we're going to talk about curb appeal, right? So one of the things that we see all the time as real estate agents is we take good pictures. We go out and try to make good pictures, and that gets people to the door, right? And then the first thing we tell people that are buyers when they send us a property,
Drive by it first.
drive by it first.
A
right?
real life drive-by.
Yeah. And so when they drive by it, they're going to see the curb appeal, and they're going to make a decision about whether or not to go inside that home
Based on
that.
curb appeal, really.
Right.
I mean, it's that instant. It's like that, first impression. You never have another chance to get a first impression. You know, it's the first impression that house makes. And it's not really the backyard per se that's being seen. It's the front. So you really want to hit that front yard. And there's a list of things that you can do to increase your curb appeal. So
Some of these are no-brainers, right? Like
Right.
if you've got any sense at all, you'll go, oh, yeah, duh, we should do that.
But people
some you may
still
not
don't.
consider. Yeah,
Like,
people don't, right?
People don't. And that's why we always say drive by it first, because if you don't like the house before you even go into the door, you're not going to like the house. Because, generally speaking, if the outside needs a little updating or if it needs cleaning up, basically the inside is going to reflect those same things,
Sure.
So same thing with first impressions. If you're meeting somebody for the first time and you're sitting there and you're late and you're chewing gum and you're haphazardly put together, then that's pretty much the work you're going to give somebody. So anyways, think about that in relationship to a home. What's
Thinking about
outside
pretty
is
much.
inside.
I'm thinking about every time I take you out, pretty much you are late and chewing gum. So
I like gum.
Maybe
And
not
I'm-
a good example.
I
You're not
am late.
haphazardly put together though, so we will give you
No,
that. So
watch it.
Easy, no brainer. Clean up the front yard, right?
Right.
Clean your flower beds out. Maybe put some fresh mulch.
Well, and two,
Don't have any junk vehicles in the front yard. Don't have old car parts.
Oh man, I mean, it's just
Kids'
a list of
toys
things.
everywhere, that kind
we
of
see all kinds of things. I think the extreme would be a toilet on a front porch or something like that, or an appliance in general on the front porch. Just clean those porches off, especially if you have a larger porch and you want to display all that room. A lot of times this time of year, trees, create all the leaves in the yard. Rake the leaves up, and you probably have to go and rake them up 3 to 4 times during the fall season, but rake those leaves up, clean that yard up. A lot of times, these big giant overgrown bushes cover a house up. And they also can be deterrent for a buyer because they're like, they've got these really big bushes and you can't see the windows of the house. And, big overgrown bushes tend to attract pests and things like that. And then what's going on underground? Those roots are going up under the house, or they're getting into the plumbing or something like that. So I don't know the rule on that, but I think like 15 years-ish for bushes, 15 to 20, landscapers will say, revive and pull up your bushes and plant new, because their roots do grow and they get overgrown, because you can only cut them and trim them back so many times before they're just they just get so big, So look at your bushes.
Yeah, I don't know anything about most of that. You're the midnight landscape girl. I'm not
Nighttime landscaper. I love to landscape, but
I do not.
But yeah, and you may just want to revive your flower beds. And if you do that, I would, and if you're not familiar with plants and plant choices and how big they get and things like that, I would take a picture of my home, take it to a local nursery and just, say, I want this and this and this, I want those to be updated. And they can kind of give you some suggestions based on height and where your house, what sun it gets, evening or morning sun and things like that. But plants can really make a difference for the curb appeal of your house.
Next couple of things we're going to talk about are pretty obvious too, and they can actually keep you from being able to get certain loans on your house when people are looking at it as a buyer. If they're an FHA buyer or USDA buyer or a VA buyer, any of those government
we've had these
loans,
things come up.
You can't have peeling paint.
Right.
You can't have cracked windows.
Right.
So you want to get that taken care of, freshen up the coat of paint. If you have paint somewhere on the front of your house or anywhere around the outside of your house, get that freshened up, scratch off or scrape off that peeling paint and redo that.
Yeah, roof shingles that have blown off or, missing pieces of the roof or something like that.
Cracked windows too, like the loans won't qualify. You're going to have to fix those with a contract with those anyway.
Right.
So
and generally, if when we come and we do a walkthrough to set up, to list your house, if you do have those things, we do recommend fixing those before listing because they do come up. And like right now, generally everybody's getting an inspection, and even if they don't do the government type FHA loan, their inspection's probably more than likely going to want you to fix that. So
yeah, and you could have a pre-inspection done on your home if you wanted to do that. But generally, if you'll just take care of these things, cracked windows, peeling paint, get that handled. Another thing for the exterior curb appeal, very satisfying, enjoyable thing to do.
I like to do it.
Everybody likes to do that. I think it's like once you get started, it's like, ooh, I got to. Go all the way and finish.
But it can really add, a wow factor to a house. It can
pressure washing. We're talking about pressure.
Yeah,
washing.
pressure washing. They sell those little pressure washers anywhere at a local hardware big box store or whatever. But they're not a whole lot of money. But they're just super handy to have, and they liven up the property. They refresh everything. But you need to be careful using them.
Yeah, you don't want to do it too close to a house, cause damage. You don't want. If you just freshen up, if you have a concrete driveway, freshen that up.
You can also freshen up a porch, freshen up siding, fence, and all that. But if you do freshen up any type of wood, you kind of want to go back in there and seal it, because basically you're taking the treated part, the top layer. Yeah. And also, in talking about pressure wash, when you pressure wash a painted porch, a lot of times it becomes chipped and all that. So
right. You got to be careful. Do a test spot first. Don't have your pressure too high. All that kind of stuff is,
And if if your porch is painted, I like, let's see, is it French gray? I'd have to get back with you on that. I think it is French gray. It's a Sherwin-Williams color, and it resembles concrete, and it will really brighten up your property if you paint. I'm not talking about, you could paint whatever, but, a lot of people paint a concrete porch that gray color, especially if it's older. But, yeah, classic French gray, Sherwin-Williams color, my go-to concrete color.
The next thing we talked about, pressure washing your fence if you wanted it to look more fresh, but you also want to make sure there's no cracked boards.
Yes.
No bowed out boards at the bottom. Just replace those. A fence picket is like $2 or $3. Pop that thing off. Put a new one up there. It'll be much more appealing to somebody to know. Okay, I don't have to fix that later.
Right.
The fence is in good shape. I've already taken care of that for you. Make sure your gates are all functioning. They don't drag the ground. They don't sagging on the hinge. Tighten that up, pull that up, fix it, make the fence and the gates all functioning and proper, especially when you're driving by the front of the house and you see a fence and it's halfway falling over or something. Nobody wants a problem immediately when they buy
And
house.
Sometimes, before the loan will close, sometimes they want you to tear down that fence because it's a safety issue. We rented a house on Waverly, remember, and they wanted them to tear that fence down. But anyways, stain that fence, liven it up, give it new life, bring it back to life, give it some curb appeal. Also trees that, if you've got a lot of hanging limbs and anything that looks like, ooh, that's questionable, it may fall on the house. A lot of my clients, when I show them a home, they're worried about, this tree or that tree, or, they like they start talking about trimming branches and things like that, especially if it's like, kind of in close proximity to the house. And we live in the South, and, we do have tornadoes and high winds and things like that. And that is a concern. So
finally on our list, I've got decorate the front door, the front entry. If it's seasonal, like we're coming up on Christmas now,
right.
Have just, you don't want to be gaudy, but you want to be tastefully decorated. So people go, because people are making a decision about the people that live in the house.
But basically, you want them, if you're trying to sell your house, and this applies to just, if you love your house and you just want to decorate, you want to have people envision them living there. You want for them to see their stuff in your house. You know what I mean? Like, and they can see, if they really like it, you want it to be inviting and things like that. So, decorate tastefully. You may even want to paint the front door. I know back 10 years ago, a lot of people were painting their door teal. My go-to teal door is Drizzle, a Sherwin-Williams color that looks really nice. A lot of people do red doors. I've done a red door. I can't think of the
it was just like
Howard Lane. That was a great color too.
Yeah, but we did that with you can't even get that anymore. It was like a pre-mixed Rust-Oleum.
Okay. Anyways,
for just
but
the doors.
you can liven up a property just by painting the door or restaining
Especially
the door.
if it looks old or drab.
And let me say this too. If you have a wood door and, you bought the house and, you moved in it and y'all have got a double wood door or a wood door in general, those wood doors have to be resurfaced, resealed, restained, and all those things. Okay. Not in that order. You call somebody up, or you can look on YouTube or something, but it really needs to be restained and resealed in order to protect.
Yeah, every 3 to 5 years, you're going to have to resurface that. Or
and so the house that we currently live in, our front door is kind of showing some wear and tear, and it just doesn't have that. It's just the beauty of the wood that's there. And so it's getting time for ours. And some of that is just, the cleaner that you've used over time. But yeah, definitely keep those, if it's a wood door, keep them restained and resealed over time, 3 to 5 years. Yeah.
So hopefully all those things on the list will help you to kind of enhance your curb appeal, because again, like we said, we take the pictures, we get the people to the property, and they drive by and they see a junky front yard or whatever, then they're not even going to try to come in and look at the inside, even if it's in perfect shape and beautiful. Curb appeal.
You can't neglect the outside.
Got to have that curb appeal. So
the outside reflects what's inside. So that's their first impression.
Yeah. So hopefully this information is helpful to you. And thank you guys again so much for checking out the show. Subscribe and leave us a comment below, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening to the House Guy and Home Girl podcast, your #1 source for all things home. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and check out our YouTube page for video content from the show.